Rated M for mature.
Welcome to the final episode of Playing Dead. I'm your host, AJ Locascio. Today we'll be talking to the directors of Episode 5, Sean Ainsworth, Jake Rodkin, and Sean Vanneman. We'll also be talking to the creator of Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman. And we have a special interview with the voice of Lee Everett, Dave Fennoy, right here on Playing Dead. So guys, thank you for being on the show again, and Sean and Jake, you guys have been on the show, but other Sean, you have not been on the show. Can you guys recap, what did you guys do on episode 5?
I was the lead cinematic artist, and I co-directed with these two guys.
Yep. I directed some of episode 5 with these guys, and also I was a designer on the game.
I was the writer and co-did those things, except lead choreography, which was your only charge, and you did quite well.
Oh, thank you.
So the first question is, did the entire season turn out the way you guys had pictured it, the way you had envisioned this whole thing?
I don't think we could have imagined it being as good as it was. You know,
Turned out nice.
Yeah, it turned out.
The story is pretty close to what we talked about, whatever it was, almost 2 years ago at this point.
Yeah, I would say the story moments, everything that happens, everything that Lee and Clementine go through, the big moments are exactly kind of like what we always wanted, and then were realized in a like...
They were realized usually in a better way than what we pictured, but...
Yes, and that might be because, like, I mean, guys like Sean, I don't know, you can probably speak to this, but like, I don't know how privy you were to the end before you came onto the project. Like, before you came on episode 5, did you know how we wanted to end it?
Yeah, I'd heard things, but it worried me at the time. You know, like, I had to be convinced that it was a good idea. Which... It's true. I was like, we're going to kill the main character, lame. But then, you know, I was convinced that it was the right move.
So the fan outcry on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, people crying and screaming. On what?
Orchid.
No idea.
Okay.
But people have been going nuts. And did you guys, I mean, did you envision this sort of crazy emotional outpour, this response? Because it's huge.
I think it's important that you get a fulfilling ending. And I think that was our main goal. And it was fulfilling to us, and it was enough to where, like, when Sean came onto the project, we had to kind of convince him that this is the right. It was
Be fulfilled.
Well, that it was the right thing to do. And had playtesters said, had gone up in arms over it, we
would have had some thinking to do.
Thought about it.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So, you know, you sort of keep reinforcing the decisions you're making, and try not to get too distracted by how people are going to receive it.
Right.
Yeah.
So people were literally filming themselves on the internet, crying, reacting to Lee's death. I mean, what did you guys think about that?
Part of what people are doing when, if people started out the game knowing how it was going to end, would they have put their entire playthrough up on YouTube? You know,
Yeah.
It's like, because, you know, you get a camera in somebody's face and you get to see their actual reactions to things, and if they knew how they were going to be reacting to things, you know, when they set out to do it, it's disarming in a way. It's kind of cool to see.
So the music of the game was phenomenal. Jared Emerson Johnson knocked it out of the park. And the song at the end, which is, I can never remember, Take Us Back by, I don't understand.
Alila Diane.
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy song. When that rolled up, I was just like, you know, sad as it was, and then that song happens, and you're just like, you go a little dead inside. Like, what made you guys choose that song? It's perfect.
Yeah, you know, it was just a song that was just exactly right. It was exactly what it was. I listened to that song probably 500 times, I don't know. And it's just about wishing you were in a different moment that had come before.
Right.
You know, and everybody can feel that way. Everybody can, you know, remember what it's like to be a little kid and kind of have nostalgia for their family or lost a loved one. It's just like the most human thing ever.
And so Jared's work on the game, the score he did for it's amazing. How did you guys work with him? How did that work out?
The first thing that we needed to get set down was the art, so we had this picture drawn. And the second thing that we needed to know was, what the heck does this thing sound like? So we started talking to Jared, who's been the composer on, I think, every Telltale game all the way back to the first Bone games they did in like '06. So we just started off by him showing up with probably like 200 or 300 songs that he had cataloged. He said, maybe the game sounds like this. Maybe
That's actually how we
like
found the Tom Waits song that we really liked.
Yes.
Yeah. It was in his catalog.
The sound ended up changing just even over the course of the first episode, and Jared, sort of working with us and the directors on the various episodes, settled on a lot of like small string section stuff, which was sort of one of the big sounds. And then it's fun also to listen to the things that show up in the score that I think like different directors have different sensibilities. So if you like the score to episode 4 has a little bit of a different sound. They worked with Jared on that, but also just I think Jared always tries to sneak in a little bit more classic zombie than we ask for, and it always ends up working. But like it's all the way down to like the very, very end of episode 5 when Lee is like dying and it's just horrible, and the music in that is just this really subtle, awesome version of the Clementine theme. But then it ends with like the music just sort of goes. You just like get this weird like Romero or like John Carpenter's synthesizer just comes in, and it's super subtle, and at the same time you're just like, oh man, this is still a zombie game. And like the little secret bits like that are always my favorite things that show up in the score.
The handcuffs. At the beginning of the game, Lee's in handcuffs, and at the end you have that, you know, if you choose to do it, and he's in handcuffs again. It was just like, obviously this must have been a conscious
interactive callback. You choose how
your closure.
It's so funny. Like you want to, I think we all want to sit here and say, oh yeah, that was a brilliant.
Knew that was happening.
No, Mark Darren walked into a design meeting with the idea for handcuffs being part of the puzzle, and then once we had them, we thought of all the different, like what you do when you make an adventure game is if you introduce an object, you go, okay, we want the player to handcuff the zombie to the thing to protect Clementine. What is everything in this world that the player might also want to handcuff, and then can we let them or not? Generally, you can't. But then we said like, oh, do this, like the door. It's like, Clementine? No, that'd be weird. And then we're like, Lee, and it's like, of course you'd want to handcuff Lee, and then it just had this symmetry.
That scene is admittedly symmetry festival.
Yeah.
It's not conscious though. You don't feel it when you're going through. It's later on you go, oh, wait a second.
And honestly, I
that
think
was important.
I think the fact that it's not too clean. No, you're right. Like I think like the fact that it's not too clean is a byproduct of the fact that it wasn't overly planned.
So at the end of the game, after the credits, we see Clementine. She's by herself. We see those two people up on the hill. What made you guys want to leave Clementine alone and in danger? And you know,
when you see her see these figures on the hill, like when they stop. Are they good? Are they bad people? Are they people? All these questions you're having, she's having, and I hope you feel like whatever decision she's about to make would have been the decision you would have made. The world of The Walking Dead does not care about you. Like, it does not care that you're a little girl, it doesn't care that you're an old man, it doesn't care that you have a family, it does not care. So to be true to the license, you have to we have to acknowledge that.
So Robert, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So first question, how do you feel about the way the whole season went? How do you feel about how it wrapped?
You know, it sounds a little cliche, but I have to say I couldn't be happier. I think that it's a tremendous risk to do anything with The Walking Dead just because, you know, I can't be 100% hands-on with everything, so I could have never expected the response to be so positive and for the game itself to be so awesome. I mean, I always knew it was going to be good, but it is an incredible piece of work, and you know, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out.
Did you have any particular feelings on how it went? Spoilers, by the way. Like, did you choose to shoot Lee, or did you choose to leave, you know, Lee and let him be?
I like the idea of forcing Clementine to shoot him.
You're a sick bastard.
So that it will prepare her for what she is going to have to do from here on out. I think that it sounds harsh, you know, on the surface, but if you think about it, it would be much worse to not prepare her for what's coming, to preserve her innocence in a world where, you know, that's something that could get her killed. And so that was the decision that I made.
As a writer, you obviously would typically craft the story, and that's the way it is. You know, like in the comic, you don't get to choose anything. Like, how do you feel about the player having such a huge, you know, involvement in where it goes?
I think that's a really cool evolution to video games. I think that shifting from being told a story while you control actions to controlling the story, you know, and some of the actions aren't necessarily, like, some of the actions are part of the storytelling. I think it's a really cool transition. I think that it invests people in the game a lot more, and giving people that sense that they're actually, you know, altering events in very significant ways, I think, you know, has led to, you know, a good portion of the success of this game. But I think it's a really cool thing to, you know, put that power in the hands of the audience and really have them dictate what their own experience is in the game.
Were you surprised at all at the crazy emotional outpouring that's happened as a result of, just the series in general, and especially the finale? I mean, there's tons of YouTube videos and some crazy stuff out there.
It's really surprising, I think. I mean, seeing the level that it goes to at times is somewhat jarring, but I understand it. I mean, it really speaks to the investment that people have in this game, and it's really cool. But I still think those guys are all wimps.
That's terrible. They're gonna find you now.
I don't care.
They don't. You called those wimps.
I've seen them weeping. They're gonna find me and cry on me.
Cry
Come
on you. Do you have anything you want to say to fans of Telltale's Walking Dead game?
Well, I mean, honestly, thank you so much. I mean, fans of any iteration of Walking Dead, I really appreciate anybody giving it a shot. I know that trying new things is very difficult, but giving this game a shot, trying to dive in, playing it, the reaction, everybody going online talking about it. I mean, it's all just absolutely awesome, and it makes it all worthwhile. So that's really cool. It's really cool to know that people care about this. I mean, this is something that I've lived with for a really long time. It's something that I've poured my heart and soul into for almost as long as I can remember. And so to know that people care about it, people enjoy it, it's really gratifying, and makes me able to justify the long hours and stuff like that. So that's awesome.
Awesome. All right, cool. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
I'm out.
Leave.
Thanks. Wait a minute. I work here.
After this whole season, what is it you guys, want to bring in season 2? What do you want to take away? I mean, there's so much, but what do you want to take away from season 1 that you can, add to season 2?
One thing that
zombies.
Zombies will return. I think zombies confirmed. Rich, zombies confirmed for season 2. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have zombies in season 2.
Lee,
Lee's corporeal form didn't disintegrate.
So it will continue to exist in the world somewhere.
Yeah, in the first chunk of the game, the first half of the season, there was a lot of really small, tactile interaction. Taking your handcuffs off, especially there was stuff in St. John's Dairy. There were things that were just felt really more tiny in the details.
Right.
And I'd like to bring some of that stuff back. I think the nature of the story in season 1 becomes as soon as the idea of getting off the mainland is on the table, and especially once Clementine goes missing.
The scope of what you're doing gets bigger and bigger.
The scope gets bigger, so we kind of got away from some of that smaller detail stuff. The idea of picking up fine little things. That's why I actually like the end. The end is back to that small scope, which I like.
Yeah, well, the other thing about episode 5 especially is that, you're not focused on details. You just want to get to Clementine.
Yeah.
And so, it didn't make sense as much, but I agree that, it's cool.
It's when it feels the most like a real human problem, which feels like The Walking Dead to me, and it's also just a thing that I don't think you do in a lot of games, especially not in zombie games. You're usually not using a screwdriver to unscrew a bolt.
A crowd of
right. And it's cool that we're given the opportunity to make a game where that is somehow compelling to play.
So character design is huge for this game because you have to. I mean, they're the crux of the game. They are the character. Yeah, you have a lot of characters in this game, and obviously it's the most important aspect of the game. Can you guys talk about what what went into the design, the animation, the kinds of choices you guys made?
With The Walking Dead, I think we looked back at a lot of the stuff we'd done before and tried to learn a lot about it. Or we really wanted to try and strike a balance between someone who's relatable and looks real, but at the same time looks like they sort of come from the world of the comic book and also from a world where you can stylize it a little bit. We definitely went for this look that emphasized eyes and emphasized basically this part of a face. Right. And if you pay attention, you'll notice that everyone actually has really big weird eyes, which somehow hides itself nicely inside of the style. But it was entirely done to give our animators and our cinematic artists the ability to just push the mood and the emotions that the characters were in way further than you could if we were locked into a really realistic look. And right. I don't know. You actually made Lee act in the game, so you can talk about it a little bit.
Well, it's especially important when to have really expressive faces when somebody needs to go like they do in The Walking Dead from really angry to sad to happy to there's just so many different emotions that people go through in these games, and having a really expressive face helps enormously with making that read, especially when we do some of the more subtle stuff where people are not actually talking, you know, like that's a lot harder to do. So it's really nice to have somebody you can just look at them and know if they're mad.
Right. Dave Fennoy and Melissa Hutchinson were amazing as Lee and Clementine, respectively. But the rest of the cast, how did you guys go about assembling that team? They're incredible.
It was just really, really, really tough. But when you found somebody who understood what we were trying to do and just brought something extra to the lines, it was like magic.
Right.
Sissy Jones, especially, she plays Katja. And to send out a casting call for, you are 40 and from Belgium, but have been living in the United States, married to like a fisherman for the past 12 years.
Right.
So your accent's kind of fallen off.
Nikki Rapp was actually probably my favorite, like most awesome VO surprise, because Nikki Rapp played Lily, but Nikki Rapp also played Lily in Psychonauts, the little kid who's the love interest of Raz, and then she also played Morgan Le Fay in Tales of Monkey Island, and those roles are just really sort of bubbly and really frantic, and also just 3 times more high pitched. Like she's playing.
She often gets cast. Gavin Hammond played Kenny in his
stuff in episode 3.
He's amazing,
is ridiculous.
actually. In studio, he's incredible because he comes in and he's just, oh, I'm Gavin, and he sounds like Northern California Gavin, and then he's like, your Al's ready to do this? And you're like, whoa, Kenny! Like, it just comes out, it's like a weird robot switch for him.
You don't think about it. You just don't think about it as like, oh yeah, voice actor. You know what I mean? Like you don't
No, they're
think,
just people.
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously when I heard Lee, I was like, Hulu guy, you know what I mean? But as soon as I had that thought, I immediately went into like, okay, now he's Lee.
I'm a father, and I just put myself in the situation of how would I be with my daughter in some horrific situation. Lee strikes me as a person who is not perfect, but is trying to do the best he can and has taken on, I call it God's work, in taking care of this child. That alone redeems him for me. When I look at the whole performance, I feel very good about it, and I think I was able to get a performance that touches people because the writing is very good. I was having lunch with Sean Vanneman, and we were talking about black actors and stereotypes and finding voices, and one of the things he was saying is, I'm just looking for somebody real. There are going to be some things in my voice that kind of let you know I'm black without me trying to put on a black thing and, you know, make you think I'm black. You know, that we don't have to do that.
How did you feel when you first found out that Lee was going to die?
I was pissed off. And I'm still not completely happy with the lead character in the game. You can't kill me off. But as an actor, it gave me some opportunities to emote in ways in a game that I never get. There are scenes in episode 5 where there are actual tears. I felt a real sense of loss, and not that I was dying, but that I would not be there. Even just talking about it now, it kind of gets to me. I've read some of the comments that players have made about themselves playing the game, and really the game making them face who they are and the choices they make in this game and translate that into life. So I really think this is the gaming world growing up. It's really about life and choices. What kind of person are you really?
So I've got some stats here from the finale. 70.5% of people chose to cut Lee's arm off after being bitten. I did, because I was like, screw that, I want to live, so I had him cut it off. That was a painful scene. Like, as I was going through that, I was just like, oh, one more. Like, I've never, I mean, obviously I've seen shows where it happens.
Arms removed.
I've seen arms removed, happens all the time. But no, I've seen, you know, we've all seen shows where someone has to do something like that, or there's some sort of amputation. But that was the first time where I was just like, you know, your gag reflex is going, because you're doing it to yourself, essentially,
but
and you're making it happen.
You were playing with Lee alone.
Alone,
Which
too.
means that you cut your own arm off.
Yeah.
If you have people with you,
They hold you down.
they'll hold you down and do it, but it's still gross.
Unless you're with Ben.
Yeah.
when arguing with Kenny in the attic, 72.9% of players lost their temper.
That makes sense.
I think is weird, honestly. I kind of was just like, anytime I had a chance to make Kenny my friend, I went for it.
Did you end up throwing that bust at him, or did you back off and let Kenny?
No, I totally backed off. I was just like, I just let him,
I think that's one of those like game design things where if you give the player the opportunity to do something, they're a lot of times in the moment going to do it.
Right.
And that matched up with Lee's emotions at that time.
Yeah, I think we wanted people to be a little.
We
pissed
wanted
right
people
there.
to
We wanted
be
people to be
pissed
getting a
and
little
do
hot right there.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
I wouldn't do it. Wouldn't play any of your games.
Well,
It's fine.
Well,
that's fine. Kenny did.
58.9% gave up all their weapons when asked by Clem's captor. Yeah. I did.
You were afraid.
I was scared. I wanted to
You
save
didn't have to.
Clementine.
You could have
He's a
kept
scary,
it.
Yeah, you
scary
could've kept it.
man.
I was worried that guy was going to do something, though.
Yeah, I don't think we knew. We didn't have.
But I liked the
we
way
didn't
that
have
scene
any-
played out.
Yeah.
Where he's
Yeah.
just like, "Give me your stuff." He's like, "I don't have anything."
I think that
Give
was
me your stuff. Oh.
That was it was one of the places where I think we were a little more sort of cheeky with that than we usually are, where it was like if you choose to try and be a hard ass and keep your weapon, you have the opportunity to use it on the stranger, but he just knocks it away. Whereas if you do let yourself get disarmed, it gives Clementine the opportunity to pick it up and whack him in the back of the shoulder with it.
Yeah.
The best one is when players do nothing though, and Clementine just walks up and goes and hits him in the head, like looking at you like what? Okay.
So during the fight we were just talking about with Clem's captor, 56.4% of players needed Clem to come to their aid instead of just doing it themselves.
It's hard to kill that dude because you're killing him with your bare hands.
That was, yeah.
Or in some cases
we
with your
wanted
bare
it to be
hand.
hard, really hard.
Oh. So, 62% of players told Clem to shoot Lee rather than keep the bullet and walk away, which I think is weird.
You were a walk away.
Yeah, I was just like,
You were in the
don't-
minority of stats on this whole episode. It seems like
I'm
maybe.
a minority. What can I say?
It's funny. It depends. That's generally when I meet somebody who's played the game, that's the first thing I ask them. What did you do at the end and why? And everybody has a different. Not necessarily there's only two things you can do, but everybody has a different why.
Right.
It's always some people are practical, save the bullet, as the cue card says, but a lot of people don't even think about that. There's like I didn't want to put her through that needlessly. Things
Right.
like that.
That was a lot. It's intense for. I mean, it's Clementine. We've been watching her go
But
through
then
this whole thing.
my mom's like, well, she's gonna have to do it eventually anyway.
Right. Right.
Like, thanks, Mom. I'll remember that next time you're chained to a radiator on the verge of death.
Your mom shot Lee.
Yeah,
What a mom.
I know.
Okay, so we've got fan questions.
Hi, fans.
Cool.
Johnny asks, I thought the soundtrack was pretty damn awesome, and I wonder if it is ever going to be released on CD or download so that I can buy it.
We are totally working on that because you are not the only one who feels that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
So more soon.
So William asks, how many times have the voice actors and devs cried in the making of this game? By the way, best game ever made, I cried 3 times.
Sweet.
I'm glad
Cool.
that he's counting how many times he cried.
Yeah.
just the idea
One.
of like just like
Hopefully he's got like the bus driver like.
yeah.
We keep those
People
around.
get emotional.
Yeah.
I know people who have come up to me in the studio and been like, "Man." That's generally what that means. I don't
Those
get a
people.
man. I don't get a cry count, but I get a man.
I heard that at the end of the season, Dave and Melissa were in a place for sure. I don't know if they
Dave
were crying.
definitely was in studio when he was recording the jewelry store stuff.
So our friend Gray asks, did you guys approach this game with the need to tell a good story, or with the idea that you're giving a player a space to tell their own story?
Oh, that's a really great question because I think that gets to like some sort of like very philosophical decisions people make in game design. And I will say, like with this game, it is co-tell a great story. Like we are going to tell we're going to actually tell a lot of different stories, but then work with the player to sort of craft their own story.
So you guys have any parting messages to the fans? Anything you want to say now that we're wrapped up season 1 and before season 2?
Thank you. Seriously.
Thank you for playing this video game. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you again. Thank you for doing all this. Thank you for the season, and hopefully we'll see you next time on season 2.
Bye.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching this season of Playing Dead. We'll see you all soon. And now, I leave you with some words from the Telltale team.
Hey everybody, I know I just was probably in that video you watched, but I just wanted to say thanks again. It's been great, and I don't know, it's been an excellent ride, and you guys made it happen, so thank you very much.
I just wanted to say a quick thanks to all of you people out there for making this an exciting year for us, and for the 82% of you who did not kill Andy St. John, good for you for keeping your humanity.
all our fans are amazing, but I wanted to give a special shout out to all the Easter egg hunters. So anybody who found Duck-ageddon in episode 3 or Powerful Stash in episode 5, you guys rule.
Hey, so I was responsible for Lee's death, and I just wanted to apologize for making everybody cry, and it's gonna be okay. I'm really happy that everybody loves that scene. I'm really happy that everybody loves the game. So thanks for playing.
Thanks for high-fiving Duck.
So happy.
This is our fan art wall. This is a collection of fan art that we've been finding throughout the web. The game is so grim that it's their way of dealing with the horrible things that happen to some of these people.
Yeah, they want things to be a happily ever after story so much that they create their own alternate reality. There's a lot of cool fan fiction out there and fan art that kind of depicts that, but there is some that's still very real, like, you know, the St. John's Brothers stuff going on.
Yeah,
so.
But then, you know, down here, Kenny saving Ben with his winged mustache.
Well, it shows the give and take between fan and developer. The fact that we inspire them to make this fan art, and they inspire us through the fan art to continue to make great games. I think it's a great cycle.
So we worked really hard on The Walking Dead, and we did it for you guys. But to be honest, there were times when things got really hard, when we were tired, when we were exhausted. And in those times, all we had to do was go to our forums or read online all the stuff you guys were saying about the previous episode or all the speculation for the next episode, and it really energized us. It energized the whole team. So thanks for the energy.
Hey, fans of The Walking Dead, all right. Thank you so much for doing the season with us, because without you it does not exist, and without your feedback and what you love and what you hate and everything else, we're always watching, and it helps the games get better. So thanks for enjoying it, and thank you for supporting Telltale, and glad it was fun for everyone.
Yeah, thanks for downloading, thanks for trying an episodic game, thanks for many of you trying your first Telltale game. We hope you really enjoyed it. We're looking forward to making more for you. Season 2 is on its way. And thanks again.